Introducing Moving the 60%, the secret to creating a powerful team and a dominant business, with Glenn Pash, Chief Executive Officer for PCG Companies.
Good morning and welcome to the session on Moving the 60, which is how to develop a great performing team, where you should focus your energy when you're leading a team. My name is Glenn Pash. I'm the CEO of PCG Companies. We are a company that works with dealers to help improve their performance from their marketing to their processes all the way through to handling their leads. So what I'm going to share with you is some of the experiences that I have delivered and what I've used in terms of training teams throughout the U.S., internationally as well. I'm going to give you this secret where you should focus your energy to get the most out of your people. So a few things that we're going to talk about today is what is moving the 60? What do I mean by that? Then we're going to focus on how to set goals specifically for your team so that they understand what you're looking to accomplish. We're going to talk about communication styles because not all your team understands communication and what you're trying to teach them the exact same way. Then we're going to talk about when you have results and you hit your marks, what do you do? Or if you don't hit your marks, what do you do? Different approach, we're going to share that. And then long term, what do you have to do to keep this going? Because that's one of the biggest mistakes that leaders make is that they have this initial impulse. They come to a conference just like this. They get all of these great ideas. They go back. They install new processes. They get a momentary bump because that's where their focus is. And then what happens is that after a month, 2 months, all of a sudden they look back and say, well, you know, that investment in that training or that investment in going to that conference really didn't work because we're not still seeing that results. What happened? But really what happened was you took your eye off of the ball. It was no longer a priority for you. You as a leader went on to something else and your team is just going to follow you. So it's up to you to really lead this. So we're going to show you what you need to do. So what is moving the 60? Now, I am 56, so moving 60 is not my age, not trying to push that out there that way, although my children will just look at me sometimes like I am ancient and I don't know what I'm talking about. So we are in a whole different age, and I'm not a big fan of talking about groups and things like that, but I use my children. I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. I use them as a balance of where we're moving in the world. So when I tell them stories about when I was growing up, it just doesn't register with them that you only had 5 channels. Right? Or you had to get up and turn the TV knob. You know, basically, as children, we were the remotes for my parents. The fact of going to a library to get a book, you know, going through a card catalog, trying to search for this, you know, their concept of doing things is all speedy. So even if you think about this, when you're on your laptop and you want to save a document, you go up and you click on an icon, and that icon is a floppy disk, right? They have no idea what that is. I talked to them one time and I said, do you understand what this icon is? They go, that's where you save. Do you know why? They said, no. I said, it's a floppy disk. They had no concept that you put something in a computer, took it out, you know, because everything for them is in their hands, right? They have access. They, as a 12 and 10-year-old, don't really even understand a desktop computer. Why do I have to stay at my desk to use a computer? They are laptops, iPads, phones. And they have everything quick to their fingertips. So this whole concept of technology is changing our industry here. The problem is that everybody's looking at technology as a savior, right? The technology is going to make everything better, you know, because I can reach in my hand and I can do this, or we have to design everything for the phone. And although you have to, the problem is it's starting to make some of our teams, some of our leaders lazy, because it's actually distancing themselves from actually still doing what they have to do. At the end of the day, automotive is still a people business. I know we're talking about it. We hear at conferences all the time. You know, people are going to buy cars online and they're not going to need dealerships, and dealerships are going to be out of business. I had this conversation last night with people. Dealerships eventually are going to be out of business. That's what they fear. And I say no. I don't think so. I do think that what is going to change is the process, right? If you think about the shopping experience, it's really broken down into 2 pieces for your team. It's the shopping experience. People like that. People will spend hours going to a dealership, taking test drives, touching the car, going around, going online, doing research. I can see myself in this car. It's when they choose the car. The buying process is the pain. So what we have to look at is how can we use technology to shorten that? How can we get our team to be more efficient in that process? Now, for those of you who may know me, have heard me speak, you'll hear that I came out of the hospitality industry. I worked in restaurants for years, and I think restaurants and dealerships are very similar. That's why I understand dealerships. When I walk into dealerships, I feel very comfortable in the chaos sometimes, that speed, everything moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, because that's what restaurants were. Restaurants have a set process. You know, the waiters do a certain thing, the cooks do a certain thing. They have a structure, but every day is different because you're either busy, you're slow, different specials, different things going on. Same thing with a dealership. You know, you have your processes, but it's a busy day, it's a slow day. The manufacturers just dumped a great incentive on you. It's the end of the month, it's the first of the month, but there's still processes within this. And again, technology can help you collapse. If you're really focused on the technology correctly, it collapses it. So I was reading an article from Danny Meyer, who is the head of Union Square Hospitality Group, and he heads these very large restaurants in New York City, and he uses technology in a very fascinating way. So he arms some of his staff with Apple Watches. So as someone orders a bottle of wine, the Apple Watch will ding on the manager's or the sommelier's wrist. So he says it'll save 30 seconds or a minute of getting the wine to the table quicker. Or when they're done, Apple Watch buzzes for the coat check person. So as the person walks up, there's no more waiting for someone to get the coats. My coats are there, I can leave. He's looking to shave 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes in that process, just to not speed it up to move people out, just to kill those dead spots where no one starts thinking, where's my food? What's going on? So if we think about that for a dealership, how we can use technology to collapse some of those times. We hear a lot of times we want to get this done in an hour. We've heard dealerships say we want to get them in and out in an hour. I think that's the wrong approach. That may be the end goal, but I think what you really need to do is look at and measure the time that you're doing all of the steps from the time that you sort of punch the clock to say, okay, that's the car I want, let's go. We fill out the paperwork, we start the financial. How long was I with the salesperson? How long was I in F&I? How long was I here? How long was I here? And then looking at each of those and saying, can we trim a minute off of them? A minute here, 5 minutes here. I think that becomes smoother if we start breaking down the obstacles. And that's where this training, moving the 60 is. Getting all of that feedback from your team and then helping them understand how can we be smoother on our processes. Because the problem is, as we dive into this, you think technology is going to change it. It doesn't. Then the other thing you think is, well, my top salespeople will save my month. They won't all the time. We have to figure out how do we move the 60. Because as much as technology is going to help us with all of the people like Carvana and all of these other great things, and Dealer Inspire doing online shopper, trying to get all the paperwork done, and Dealer Track, and you hear all of these things going on. We still have people. It's still a people business, both from a customer perspective coming in and also our staff. They're people. We have to manage them into these processes. We can't just hope that technology is going to remove people from this equation. And when we're focusing on our team, we can't think that technologies, I gave them a CRM, I gave them mobile apps, so I as a leader can just go, well, they have all the tools, they're done, right? Think of it as a sports team. I use this all the time. If you, whatever fan, just picture in your head right now the team that you love. If you turned on the TV to watch the game and the coach was nowhere on the sideline, all right, all the coaches were gone. And they asked the coach later on, why weren't you there? Oh, they're professionals. They know how to play. Why do you need me there? You would ask for that coach to resign. You'd say, you're crazy. Because where are you supposed to be? On the sidelines, watching the game being played, coaching them, giving them feedback so their performance gets better. But yet, if you translate that into a dealership, are the leaders of every single team right there while their team is playing the game? Sometimes I see the structures of a dealership where the desk is way off in the corner. How can they see what's going on in the interactions? How can they coach their team to get better if they're over here waiting for you to come to me versus I need actively to be on the floor? So that's what we're going to talk about. So my first thing is get rid of the buckets. When you're working with your team, get rid of the buckets. We love to talk about millennials, Gen Y, Gen X, everything, and we want to button them up because this is the way I'm going to talk to them. But if you think about it, right, let me give you some of the things. When you think millennials, what do we think of? We think of, a little entitled, some lazy, they don't work as hard as I did, right? That's first flag right there. Get out of this romanticized world of how you were trained, because you hated it when you were going through it. You hated being yelled at by your manager. You hated being disrespected by your manager, pushing you. Yeah, afterwards you said, well, look at where I am now. You hated it then. So stop romanticizing. But if you think about it, millennials are this. Gen Y is this. They're not like me. The problem with that, and if you're a Gen Y or Gen X or even a millennial who's in charge of running a team, you might be managing people who are older than you, and you also have preconceived notions of, oh, well, they don't understand me because they're old. In each bucket, there are people that are lazy. I'm 56, so I guess I'm on the tail end of a baby boomer, I guess they say. If you think about, I know people my age who I would quantify as lazy, entitled, not really working hard, right? So within each bucket, there's stratospheres. And I know millennials who are incredible, working super hard, busting their rear ends. So again, I'd have them on my team. I have a team of millennials working for me, and I love them. I don't manage them as millennials. I manage them as people. I set my goals and I work to figure out how can I motivate that person, meaning how can I give them goals, coach them to get the performance out of them that I need, instead of wasting my time going, well, they're a millennial, right? So where do we focus? If you look at your group, there's usually a bell chart, right? We have the big swoop. We'll go on the 20%. 20% of your team are what we'll call high performers, and 20% of your team are what we'll call low performers. They're either new coming in or they're performing their way out, but they're not reaching the levels that you want. And then you have the group of the people, 60% in the middle. Those are my average performers. That's the 60. That's who we want to move. Because if you think about it, if I can get that group to take one step, think the volume, okay? So most dealerships I go in and talk to have an average of 10 to 20 salespeople. So if we just pick middle, 15 salespeople, if we do this, 20%, 3 of them are my top performers, 3 of them are my low performers, and 12 of them, 9 of them are in the middle. If I can get all 9 of them to sell one more car, there's 9 more cars. Instead of going to those top 3 people and saying, I need 3 more cars out of you, it's almost too hard for them. They may hit it one month because you have to spiff them high or really bonus them. So are you really making money? Right? My financial person here is going, no, that's not smart to do that. But if I get all 9 people to just take a step forward. Now, even if I get that 9 to move one step, I'm going to trip over where those people may actually sell 2 cars. So maybe I don't get 9, I get 11. The key is, now that I convince them that they can sell that extra car, now that's their new normal. Then I move them up and move them up. But I got to move this whole group forward slowly. But where our focus usually is on that low 20%, trying to resurrect the people who are already walking their way out. I'm not saying don't pay attention to your new people. Or we spend so much time on our top performers because, let's be honest, most top performers are a little bit prima donnas, divas, right? They know they're great, and there's this concept of you need me, so that sometimes they're a little more high maintenance than the rest of the people. But I want to focus on this middle 60. How do we get that? Because like I said, if I can get them just to incrementally, slowly move in lockstep, long term, by the end of the year, I will gain more than just pushing on everybody, hoping my top salespeople are going to really do. So we're going to walk through the steps. So first, we have to set results. We have to learn how to set goals. How do we set goals for people? We have to be specific about goals. They have to understand them in a numerical sense or an action sense, something that they physically can get up and do. All right, so usually sales, we'll talk in terms of sales because it's easy for most people. That's what most dealerships are focused on, is sales. So if we know a number, team, we need to sell 100. Team, we need to sell 150. Okay, that's a number. We know 150. Everyone knows what 150 is. Versus we sold 120 last month. We need to sell a few more. Come on, guys, we got to sell a few more. What does a few more mean? We need to be so clear, specific goals, okay? So what happens now when I start looking at results at the end of the month or throughout the month, whenever I'm looking at them, okay? It's a very simple black and white question. Did we achieve our goals, yes or no? The second thing that I will always tell every single person I work with, every dealership principal, every leader of a team, take emotion out of it. I know it's hard, but take emotion out of it. Emotion doesn't help. It clouds your judgment. Emotion starts giving you this broad brush stroke of everyone's great or everyone's horrible. And that's not really the case. We have to look at the team, but then we have to start looking at the individuals, because even if we miss our goal, there might be a few people that achieved our goal. So we have to be careful that we're not using our broad brush. So you have to do this exercise every single month, because sometimes when you hit your numbers, you're hiding flaws because you can't repeat that behavior. Maybe there was an incentive from the manufacturer that is not repeated the next month, that gained a bunch of sales, that made it easier or drove more people in who were ready to purchase. And then all of a sudden, we see it with our clients, it's cyclical. How come right after Labor Day, September starts to be slower, beginning of October might be a little slower, or beginning of November might be a little slower because they're waiting for the end of the year? Because we've trained our people, we've trained our customers to come in at the end of the month because they're going to get a better deal. We've trained them to wait for holidays because the manufacturer is going to give them an incentive. So we have to be careful when we hit our goals that we can repeat the behavior. Same thing, if missing the goal, sometimes missing the goal is a good thing, and I know most of you don't want to hear this, but sometimes missing a goal is a really good thing, because that is a time where everybody wakes up and says, we have to start diving in to look at what's going on. So when we hit our goals, as I said, I think that's the biggest weakness for managers. And again, I'm not just saying this happens everywhere. I've seen both versions of what I'm going to talk about. But this is what I see when I work in dealerships. At the end of the month, they hit their goals, a lot of high fives. Great job, everybody, patting people on the back, whatever. And the words that come out of the leader's mouths are, we had a great month, let's do it again. Let's go out and have another great month. Let's go do it again. Hey, let's get a few more. And everyone high fives and they walk out. And there are people who go, I don't know what I did to do that. It just happened. Now, some of your great salespeople will go do what they do, but that middle 60, right? That middle 60, they might have just had things fall in their laps. A referral comes in that's not coming in next month. Maybe somebody who came in decided to buy another car. Somebody who came in for service, I just happened to be there, and I got them to turn around and come, and I pulled them out of their lease. Tons of different things. We have to make sure they understand the actions. Remember, actions create results. There's always a positive action, all right? Even if I don't achieve my results, I'm doing something that's causing me to miss my goal. So again, it's not that they're not doing something. Don't get into, well, they're not doing what I want them to do. Go find out what they are doing instead of what you want them to do or what you think they should be doing, okay? So we need to make sure that we drill it in their heads. If our goal was this month, I need you as a salesperson to make 10 extra calls every single day, and you did that before, congratulations, love it. Let's see what it did for you, right? How did that generate positive results for you? So you sold 5 more cars or 3 more cars because of that. Do you understand that? And they go, yes, I do. Okay, what are we going to do next month? I'm going to make 10 calls. See, now I as a manager, right, gave them a very specific goal. There's no misunderstanding. 10 is 10 is 10. I, as a manager, can check in every day. I don't have to wait till the end of the month and go, what happened? We didn't hit our goal. Oh, yeah, did you make those calls? No, I didn't. I can catch it because at the end of every day, I can say, did we make our 10 calls? See, that's a simple check-in point, and it's very clear. But the key is I'm checking in with them. Now, we'll get into a moment about why most managers don't want to do that. They feel like I'm condescending to them. They should know how to do it. Stop. My job is to check with you every day. I'm hoping you tell me yes. That makes my life easier, but I have to check with you. So now let's talk about what happens when we miss our goals. I come in and I check in, and we don't miss our goal. I mean, we miss our goal. That's usually when managers really get, have their emotional breakdown, and they come in with the broad brushes and what's going on, and we're not doing anything, and I've heard some really crazy stuff thrown out at salespeople. As I said, bucketed in within that team missing a goal, there are people who hit their goal. So be careful of doing the broad brushes, because you might have your top performers sitting in a meeting getting their butts chewed out about how the team just was horrible, and they're going, I sold the most cars I ever have. They're waiting for the praise from you, and you're just trashing them. They don't like that. Then it becomes, I don't like this. I'm not. And remember, people like getting recognition for what they do. You're better off saying the team did not miss their goal. I'm disappointed that we missed our goal. I'm going to be sitting down and looking at each one of your individual performances to see where the breakdown was, because it could have been just one person who dragged everybody down, or two people, or the fact that I had a bunch of new people brought in that impacted that. And you know what? I'd asked my top people to try and go out and get a couple extra to make up for the new people, and they didn't do it. So that's what happened. So again, get the emotion out of it. Analyze numbers. Numbers don't lie in that sense, meaning like I have to dig past, go find the actions, but the numbers are generated by action, so we have to start diving into seeing what happened. Take the time. This is one of my nuggets for you to take back with you is look past the numbers, meaning you got to dive in and go look, find the actions it causes, find the root cause issue. Don't let them tell you, oh, it was just a bad month, I got it under control, boss. Let's spend the time to say, what were you doing? If this is our process that you're supposed to be doing, where was the breakdown? You know what? You didn't make your calls. You didn't make your 10 calls. Why didn't you make your 10 calls? See, now I can have a dialogue with them to say, why did you choose to do something else? It could be, well, then another manager pulled me out. So-and-so told me not to do this. Well, okay, let's figure this out. Or you know what? I just got caught up doing X, Y, and Z. I can now work with them on X, Y, and Z to fix it, to get them back on track, because we have already proven that making these 10 calls can make them successful, all right? So as I said, we're going to focus on this middle 60. The keys to talking to a group of people is understanding not everybody learns the same way, does not take the same sort of style of communication. There's a few people in this audience here, right? Every one of you may or may not learn differently, meaning the way you receive communication. You as a leader have to understand who you are, how you like communication, because that's going to dictate. And then when I'm pushing out to the audience, right, how do I focus my conversation, because you're going to learn differently or receive communication differently than you do, than you do, than you do. I as a leader have to understand that. So let's go through. There's 4 different types of people in terms of how they receive communication. So the first one we'll call the dominator. Some of this you'll see there's Myers-Briggs, that's more personality. This is communication. Okay, the dominator, you probably know them. A lot of them are your top salespeople, sometimes your owners, your managers. They tend to be this. They're very blunt and to the point. Okay, they are the people who are bottom line attitude. You hand them this beautiful report you worked on hours and hours, and they flip to the back and they just look at the bottom number and go, did you hit your number or not? They don't want to hear how you got to it. They don't want to hear the story. It's yes or no, right? And if you think even you can use some of this for your customers, right? The customer is the one who's coming in and going, give me your best price. How much you got? Tell me this. Tell me this. I want this, right? They want to control the conversation. It's not that they don't want your input, but they want it the way they want it. They want you to tell them. They're going to ask you the questions. They don't want you to ask them the questions, right? They're not interested in being friends. They just want a business transaction. So sometimes with your top salespeople, when you go over to them and you're going to talk to them, they're going to say, hey, boss, I got my top salesperson is this person. And when I go to them and say, I need you to come into a meeting, they look at me and go, boss, what do you want me to do? Sell or come into a meeting? I got things to do. I'm booked. I'm busy. What do you need? Tell me what to do. So how do you appeal to them? You be respectful of their ideas. They're going to be the salesperson who talks to you and says, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what I'm doing. I absolutely understand you've been doing it. You do a great job for me here. Here's a couple things I just wanted to give you that other people are doing, right? So again, they're also susceptible to competition. They're very aware of what other people are doing. You got to focus on facts. Remember, bottom line stuff. So here's what I need you to do. A couple people are using this type of thing. They found success doing this, right? I'm bringing evidence to show them. It's numbers, it's facts, and also I'm going to show them how they be successful. So-and-so over here has been doing this, and they've increased their performance by 30%, doing a couple things. I know you've been doing this for 20 years. I just wanted to give this to you. Say, I think you should take a look at this. I think it's going to benefit you. Let's go. See, I didn't tell them they have to do it. If I come to a dominator and say, you have to do this, guards up. Why do I have to do this? I've been successful. I'm the top salesperson. Why are you going to tell me this, right? So that's your dominator. A lot of the people in the 60, a few of them are going to be in there. They may not be your top performer, but they're set. And they're like, Cut to the chase. Get to the chase, okay? Second person, conversationalist. A lot of your moving the 60% and your salespeople, they're these people. They love to talk, okay? They're the people who are very fun-loving, adventurous, they're expressive, love to talk. So let's give an example. Think of your teams. Is there the person on your team that every Monday have to come in and tell you all about their day off? Tell you what they did last night. They're talking about movies, they're talking about restaurants, they're talking about their vacations, they're talking about sports. You as a manager sometimes get frustrated because you're like, can you just go work? I had a person on my team who needed to somebody just needed to listen to them for 2 or 3 minutes and they were good. If you shut them down and ignored them, they thought you didn't like them and they were distracted for the rest of the day. So again, a dominator, if you're the one who's running the team and you're a dominator, you get frustrated with these people because you're like, can you stop talking? Can you just get to the point of this story? Move on. I need you to get to work. You have to understand that you have to sort of suck it up, control the conversation with them and let them talk about it. Hey, how was your night? Oh, it was great. We went here, here, and here. That's fantastic. You'll have to tell me where that restaurant is later on. Here's what we're working on today. But you guided the conversation. You didn't shut them down going, stop talking. We got to get to work, because that frustrates them, okay? They are the people, from customer standpoint, if you think about those people, they're the ones who come in and tell you about the story of their car. Oh, I had this car for 10 years. We're just going to have another kid. I'm going to move up here. I can't wait. And if you're a dominator and you're like, dude, cut to the chase, and two conversationalists together, horrible, because nothing gets done because they just want to sit and talk all day. So you have to also manage that you're not putting two conversationalists together for too long on a project or to work, because nothing gets done. Nobody can make a decision because they just want to chat and chat and chat. So again, we want to appeal to them because we're social, we're friendly, we want to build relationships, let them talk, but the key is you got to guide the conversation with them, okay? Another tip with conversationalists in terms of learning. Dominator, bullet point list. If you give them a video to watch, it's a waste of my time. You give them a report to read, waste of my time. Give me an executive summary. Tell me what you want me to do, boss, and let me go do it. That's a dominator. Conversationalists, they don't want to read a long report either. Reading bores them. Give them videos to watch. Give them photos. They're image type people. So when you're delivering training, use a lot of visuals. So have images, PowerPoints, have videos. They're probably better with online video training than if you give them a manual to read. So just tip there. The third group is a safe and structured. This is the bulk of your moving the 60 people. Okay? You have probably more conversationalists. You have a lot of these safe and structured. They're the ones who are probably doing your processes the best in your dealership. You use them as an example to your top people who won't put stuff into the CRM, right? They're the ones who are like, hey, I'm selling, leave me alone, right? Safe and structured, they're the example. Why can't you be more like them? They put everything in. They follow the process. Why do they want to do that? They don't want to get yelled at. They don't like conflict. So you as a manager understand you can't come at them hard. Those dominant people, those are people you can get in their face and you can push their buttons. Safe and structured thinks you're going to fire them. And then they get into this whole mindset of what happens if I get fired and then I don't know where I'm going to be and it's going to hurt me. And even any change, even a new change in a process, you have to take the time to show them what it is. How does this benefit them? Make it safe and cuddly. Now again, leaders sometimes don't like doing that. They feel, you've been doing this, you've been here for a while, I shouldn't have to baby you. That's not babying them. That's the way we learn. Right? Think of how you raise your children. You did not yell at your child every single time they fell. You pick them up, encourage them, move them on. Somewhere along the line, the way we educate people, all in school, it was the same way. Let me show you what to do. Let me pump you up, encourage you. As soon as we become adults, all of a sudden we decide we don't want to spend time teaching people anymore. We just want to tell them what to do and yell at them. That's not really teaching. So the safe and structured, sometimes they're a little more soft-spoken. As I said, they're the ones who are going to do the process. They're probably, if you map out all of their metrics, they're right where you want them to be. They're just not doing enough of them because they're making sure everything's dotted, the I's, crossed the T, where your top person doesn't care about the process, they're caring about the end result. So they'll do whatever they have to do to get the end result, and it may be sloppy and messy. It's not going to be efficient. These people over here are incredibly efficient. How can I get them to do a few more? They definitely want to seek to please you. So these are the ones, when you're coaching these 60, you have to, if you know where you want them to go, they'll go there. So tell them, make sure you understand, this is where we're going. Coach them and train them, develop them. They'll get there because they want your approval. Other groups might want to fight you on it and have a discussion. These people will just lockstep, yes, sir, right? Because remember, they're the ones who come in every day. They probably have the same lunch. You set your watch by them. They're in at 9, they do this, 10 o'clock they do this, 11 o'clock they do this, 12 o'clock they have the same coffee, everything. Same route to work. They're so safe and structured. So, again, how do we appeal to these people? Be genuinely interested in them. Understand their families, what their structure are. Understand when you're giving these people time to adjust. Why I'm focusing on this 60 is because you can't ride them like you ride your top people. Can't ride them like that. So these people, and I know it's frustrating for some people, is I don't have time to wait for them to catch up. You have to. Okay, these people are going to probably hit your goal, but that's why I always say 1. Incrementally 1 instead of 5. If I go to these people and said, you always sell 8 cars, I need you to sell 3 or 4 more, their brain explodes. That's 50% more. I can't do it. But if I say 1, they're like, okay, 1, then 1. Now, in 6 months, they're selling 12. That's where I wanted them to be. It took me 6 months to get there. Some dealers are like, I don't have time to waste. I can't wait that long. Think of it this way. How much does it cost me to go hire a new person? If that person, I push on them, they freak out, they leave. Now what happens? I have to spend money to go hire somebody, bring somebody in. They're not even going to do the 8 that that person did for 3 or 4 or 5 months because they're learning. So already I'm losing performance there. Plus, I'm taking a manager away from their sales that they could be generating to go train this person. So net, I'm losing because I didn't want to wait. Take time. That middle 60 will get there. You just got to be patient with them. Clearly define goals. Don't leave it to they don't want to figure it out. Okay? Those people need you to go through every single step. Explain to them the actions that they need to generate these people. Again, they will do everything for you. They are your loyal people. They love what to do, but they don't want to get out of bounds. They don't want to take that extra step and be risky. The conversationalists, they're, hey, let's go try something new. Whee! And the dominant people are like, nobody tells me what to do. I know better, right? And these people are like, nobody told me to move over here, so I'm just going to wait till the manager tells me. If you want to get success, move that 60, guide them. Spend your time there. Spend your time here. That's going to be successful for you. The last group is what we call the calculator. They're the ones on your team who know everything. They know more than you do. They know every process. They know what other departments do. Right? They know exactly what's going on in the F&I department if they're a salesperson. They know it all, right? So when you're working with these people, you have to make sure that when you're coming to them with a process, you have to understand they know everything. So don't try to ad lib. Don't try to fake it. Work with them. Work with them to get to understand here's why, here's how, here's all of the benefits. But as I said, they know every spec on every car. They study everything. They're the ones give the manual to. They'll know the manual. They'll know everything. That gives them comfort. That gives them confidence. They're almost a little dominator quality, meaning that they get a little cocky because they know everything, but they also will follow the process because logically they already know how the process fits together. And that's the key. When you change a process for this middle 60 and you have these calculator people in the middle of it, you got to make sure you show them how that change fits in the whole process, right? Okay. So now, let's talk about a couple things here of how do I put this all together with this. So let's do an example. If I'm doing in a BDC or a sales room and I'm looking at metrics. Our company has written a book called Selling Cars in the Digital Age, and it talks about what we call the 4x60. Right? It's just baseline metrics. If I have 100 website leads, 60% of them I should contact. 60% of those people, I should set appointments. 60% of the appointments should show up. I should sell 60%. Baseline gets me 13% closing ratio on those leads. Okay, that's average. Why we like that benchmark is then you can plug everybody's performance in and then you know where to help, right? Fix them. A dominator, you may find this is all chaotic, but anybody that walks in front of them, they close. Problem is, they don't have the patience to do that sort of farming for them, doing all these. So they may not have that contact ratio. They may not set enough appointments. They'll get the appointments in, they'll close them, but they don't have patience because their philosophy is, I sent you an email, I left a couple messages, dude, if you're interested, give me a call back. I got other people to go to. Versus the safe and structured will follow every process, Problem is they'll hit that 60% and 60% and 60% and 60%, but because they're so methodical, instead of getting to 100 leads, they get to 80. So I have to work with them to say, love what you're doing, how can I get you to do 85 leads, 90 leads? See, I'm working more to get them to do what they're doing perfectly with more people. The conversationalists, same thing. They might be spending so much time they never set the appointment. They're talking, going back and forth. I have to make it perfect before they come in. So you see, all of these metrics allow me to come in and do targeted training every single month, and that's the key. Every month we have to audit the numbers, look at what's working, what's not working, go in and look at the actions that they're doing, because if the dominator is not setting enough appointments or contacting enough people, they're doing something. What is it that they're doing, and how do I get them closer to what I want them to do? And as I said, that middle 60, you're going to spend a lot of time with how do I get them to do a little more? How do I get them to do it a little faster? Okay? We've created, and in your folders, there is a form called the Sales Opportunity Log. And we've created an Excel spreadsheet, and we've plugged in these 4x60 numbers. You can put in your numbers of what actually is happening either as a group or in individuals, and then throw in and plug in what you average in terms of a gross for a vehicle, or whatever number you want. What it'll show you is how much, based on the leads and the things that all those opportunities you've generated from your marketing, are you maximizing those opportunities? How much money you're leaving on the table? When we've done this for dealers, we usually have to tell them, again, emotions, calm down. Because what we usually see is there's so much opportunity that's wasted because they're not maximizing. Dealers, I need more leads, I need more leads. I'm going, you don't need more leads, you have to work the leads you have. I need more leads. I show them this form and they fill it in. And I've showed dealers where literally $750,000 being left on the table, $1 million being left on the table every year, easily. And when you show some of your dominators or your top salespeople, what you're going to find out is they're blowing through leads because you're focused on their end result. Well, boss, I sold 30. I'm a superstar. I sold 30, but it took me 300 leads to sell those 30. Oh, this person over here is selling 12. They're horrible. Well, they only took 70 leads to do those 12. We don't look at that. We look at the end result sometimes instead of are you efficient? And we're praising sometimes the people who are wasting money, just blowing through leads, and they're selling the cars, and that's all I care about. This allows you to start to shrink that, becoming more efficient with your people. Because ultimately, again, we want to be the most efficient we can be. We want to take that middle 60. As I said, you plug into middle 60, they're not losing you a lot of money. They're just not getting to enough. They're actually making the money on the leads they have. So your frustration is, how do I get to those extra 20 leads? What do I have to do? Different style of work, okay? Now, the 8 steps that I always use to coach people, I've designed these because I've used this from restaurants and for my years of training people. It's an 8-step process. It's on the slide. It's a very simple concept, but you have to do it all the time. Number 1 is you have to tell people what you want them to do, okay? What are we going to do? We are going to improve. I'm going to get you to sell more cars this month. I'm going to get you to sell 2 more cars. That's what we're going to do. Here's why it's important, because that makes more money. You know, middle group, hey team, we're going to do this, right? There's a why to it. And then how? How am I going to train you? What's the change in terms of our actions that we're going to do? So maybe it's a new script. Maybe it's 10 more phone calls. Maybe it's, hey, this is the incentive. Hey, this is how we're going to deliver the car. Hey, this is how we're going to greet our customers. Whatever it is. The key is, and the way this works is I demonstrate it. If I'm the trainer, I demonstrate it. I'm going to show you what I want you to do. Remember, those 4 communication styles, not everybody can hear it and do it. A dominator might just be, tell me what you want me to do. But you're still going to have to go fix them later on, right? Because they didn't see what you were doing. They interpreted it. Remember, every single time I say this is what I want, my picture may not match your picture. But if I show you and you see me doing it, there's no misunderstanding. This is what I need you to do. This works for anything. I don't care if it's washing a car. I did this whole train the trainer at a dealership. He loved it because he's like, this way. He goes, you know, the funny thing is you say washing cars, he goes, or detailing cars. I had people who's out there and I'm like, who taught you to do this? Nobody. They just told me to go wash the car, get the car ready, assuming they knew what that meant. He's like, I showed them what to do. They're like, oh, that's easy. It also made them more efficient because they had a process. So this can be used. So you got to demonstrate, then role play. Make sure they understand it. Give them feedback, tweak. Let them practice with you instead of practicing with customers. Then let them go out and do it. The key is you're going to have to follow up. It's endless retraining, endless follow-up. You have to decide if you want a great team or not. You have to decide if you want to help this middle 60 get better. If you don't, stop complaining. That's all I have to say. Stop complaining. Stop bitching and complaining that you're not hitting your goals if you're not willing to get off of your chair and go out and work and help your team develop. Stop going in and thinking scare tactics are going to work, because it motivates a few people, and the bulk of the people don't know what to do with that information. So you have to go out and use this communication style to help that middle 60 move forward. And it is your job to retrain. Now, I heard an article or a discussion on the radio. We're filming this right before the Super Bowl. And we have the Patriots, and we have Atlanta, right? And most people hate the Patriots, and I'm up in Jersey. But the thing about the Patriots, and I'm not a Patriot fan by any stretch of the imagination, but they were talking about Bill Belichick, the coach, and they were saying, well, how does he get his team, right, to do this? Everybody else has the same resources, great talent. How does he get his team to do this consistently? And they're talking to one of his ex-players. Number one, they said, his personnel, how he hires. He looks for certain characteristics, not just skills, characteristics that people are coachable, want to learn, want to buy into the system. Number two is they're very structured. They come in and they say, this is our process. So think about it from a dealership. How many times do you hire a salesperson or someone in that has experience? Do you train them the same way that you would a new person who has no experience? Probably not. Why? Because you think, well, they have experience. They know how to sell cars. That's going to make my job easier as a leader because they already know. Reality is you're gambling because that person knows how to do it their way from another dealership, not your way. And then all of a sudden down the road, you're like, there's a disconnect here. Well, why didn't you tell me that? I've been doing this for 4 months this way. Now all of a sudden you come at me and tell me it's wrong. Doesn't matter. They bring players into the Patriots and immediately this is the way we practice, this is the way we do things. Yes, they want your great input from, well, we did some things in other places, but they're going to say, well, we'll take it under consideration, but for now do it this way. So hiring, and also they have a structure and a process. And number three, he said, and this was the one that just struck me, he goes, they develop players. They spend a lot of time coaching them, not just on their job, but they put them into situations that they may face in the future. So maybe if you're a right tackle, I'm going to play you at left tackle. I might have to play you at guard. I might have to do this. Because if somebody gets hurt and I put you over there, if I've already practiced it, you're not worried about it. You may not be perfect, but you understand how to do it. So think about that. Are you practicing with your players? Are you developing your team to face situations? Or are you training them for the perfect situation? You're training them for the person who comes in and you have one or two objections and you role play those objections instead of hundreds. Or every meeting you say, give me something that happened yesterday that we think we should train everybody on. And then we talk about it. And what we're doing is we're arming those people. And we're developing their core strengths and their brains to say, I can handle any opportunity. It never stops. Never stops. You have to say to yourself as a leader, my job is to develop them. My job is to go ask the questions every day. Even if they give you the correct answer for a year, my job is still to ask the question. So, in summary, your goals need to be very specific, actionable. If the person cannot get up and do it, it's not clear enough. If it's not numerical, that's something everybody agrees on, it's not clear enough. You got to focus on this middle 60% of your team. That's the bulk of your team. Those are the ones who every single month, from a sales perspective, they're selling 8, 9, 10, whatever your middle is. And you could just write it at the beginning of the month. I know they're going to sell 8. When you're doing your projections, you go through 60% of your team and you already pencil in what you know they're going to get. And you think it might be 1 or 2 up. If they're going to get 10, maybe it's 9, maybe it's 11. That's the way you do for 60% of your team. The key is, how do I then go focus them so next month I can always start penciling them in? It's 11. Could be 12, it could be 10. This month it's 12, could be 13, could be 11. Incrementally moving them. But you got to get off your butt and you got to decide you're going to do that. Get everybody, as I said, get everybody taking that step forward. Understand how everybody communicates. Understand how you are, meaning if you're a dominator, you have to understand how you influence. Dominator to dominator, we understand each other. Dominator to conversationalist, frustrating. Dominator to safe and structure, I scare people. Dominator to calculator, okay, you get caught in the weeds a little bit, but I got you. I need to know that. And if I'm a safe and structured leader, I can't be afraid of the dominator. So you got to understand all of that if you're going to move. You have to be a coach. If I leave you with anything, if you're going to want to really have a successful team long term, not just for a month sprint, you got to decide to be a coach. Okay? Managers sit at desk, coach on the sideline watching. We need more coaches in the dealerships. We don't need more managers. We need more coaches to help develop your team so that they understand how to handle every situation. They understand the process. They understand what they need to do. They understand that you're going to be there for them to give them feedback. If Michael Jordan, if LeBron James, if Kobe Bryant and all these great players look for coach, if Tom Brady is looking to his coach to say, please make me better, why, when your salespeople are going, make me better, you're not there? It's a shame. If you want to be better and develop, focus on this middle 60, follow these results, and I think you'll have a great success. Thank you very much.